So today I've got our leader Christine in the group, and we're in the free group, right? Is that correct?
Yes, this is our community. Yep.
Exciting. All right, so today we're talking about aligning your business with your lifestyle, and I thought it'd be cool to actually get an idea of Christine and what she wants out of her lifestyle and kind of her story. So we'll be starting today with a special kind of behind the scenes of getting, to know more about Christine and like what's her story. And then we'll transition that into actual step by steps you could use to align your business with your life. So thank you, Christine, for joining me today.
Thanks,
Uh,
Alok.
you're welcome. I would love to know, okay, so when you kind of created your vision for your business, like what was it that you really were looking to create?
Initially, when I started to daydream about this business, what I wanted to create was a place where women could learn about, really, it was just learning about mindset. I wanted a
Hmm.
place where women could learn about how to get into the mindset that would allow them to be proud of themselves, to be happy with who they are, to have greater levels of, you know, love and acceptance and freedom in their life. And as an entrepreneur, um, I also wanted to create a community where women who were building their businesses or wanting to start a business or just could find that place where other women were doing what they were doing. I
Hmm.
found that it was hard for me as an entrepreneur sometimes to find that, especially when I had brick and mortar business. Then I wanted a place where whether you were doing a brick and mortar or an online business, that you had a community that you could come to. And there were women who were there who were supportive, cheering you on, wanting the best for you. But I really wanted to be a place where women could, I've always said this, to see how truly amazing they already are.
Hmm.
Because I think so many women and men too, I mean, I think this is part of the human condition, is that we come into this world so amazing, so incredible. I mean, just endless potential, boundless love. And then, life happens, right? We all get socialized and we get these false beliefs about who we are and what's possible for us. And what I want to do is help people to break free from those conditions and come back to how amazing they already are and just be able to experience a life where they're like, yeah, I really do love myself. I love what I'm doing. I love the life I'm creating, and I'm an amazing person. Like I just want
What are
that.
some of the, like I want to dive into that idea. What are some of the traps, or you could say it like that, or obstacles that women run into as far as getting like socialized and losing that spark?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see things shifting now, but even when I was growing up as a kid, I was really in the first generation where we saw women going into the corporate world and working full time. Um, so as kids, we were taught, especially as girls, that our worth was in our looks, that there was an expectation that we were going to get married, have kids, and support a spouse who was working in the world. Um, it was a lot of those Disney stories, like the Prince Charming is going to come and save you, and he'll have the money. So you just have to look good so that you can attract the right person who's going to come and save you. Right. That was like a typical theme in a lot of movies and TV shows when I was growing up. Um, and
Hmm.
it's just, it's been a part of our culture for so long that I think it was just unquestioned for a
Hmm.
long time. And then,
Was that like something you grew up with in like your family? Was that something like that you, or was that something more you saw as a cultural thing?
yeah, in my family, it was not like that. My mom was a school teacher. She worked full time. My dad worked full time. And we were really taught that we could do anything we wanted. We could be who we wanted. We could choose the occupations that we wanted. It was expected that we were going to go to college. So, while I don't think my mom would have like labeled herself as a feminist, she certainly was someone I looked up to and admired as a woman who had like made some pretty bold decisions in her life. When she was in just out of college, she signed up with the Department of Defense to be a school teacher overseas. So she
Wow.
lived in Okinawa, Japan. She lived in Germany, and she like went and explored the world. And this was in the late 1960s. It
Wow.
was like not very typical for women to do that at that time. And I just knew that about her. So for me, it was always like, well, yeah, you can just choose to go do what you want. Now, her choices were limited. She was told that when she went to college, she could be a teacher or a nurse or a secretary. Those were her three options. So she chose teaching. And with that option, though, she said, I want to go see the world, and this is one way I can do it. So in my family life, all the options were open, but society kept putting other conditions on it, especially TV and movies and um yeah, which is like, they're those things are pretty significant when you're growing up, when you see it over and over and over again.
What was like the biggest example, or like do you remember a specific situation where you just felt like, oh my God, I feel like so pressured, or like I feel so kind of boxed in?
Um that's a good question. I don't know that I ever particularly felt that way because my parents let me like be who I wanted to be and kind of explore the world. I mean, definitely in my early 20s, there was a lot of pressure, not from my parents, again, but from society that I was going to have kids. Like that was a
Mm.
big pressure that I felt, especially after I got married. It was like literally like the moment after we got married, people were like, when are you having kids? And I was like, whoa, I don't know if I want kids. And that was a big thing for me for many years that I had to really sit with and think about and own. And, there were a lot of people who would say to me, like, you're missing out, you're going to regret this. It's the best experience of your life. Why don't you want this? Um, and it was just something that never, I just didn't, I babysat, I was a nanny. I love kids, but that was just something I never wanted for myself. And it was something that um, I had to really own
Mm.
because there was a lot of pressure in the world. Again, not from my parents. They said to me, if you want kids, have them for you. Don't have them for us. We had you because we wanted kids, but you have to want them for yourself because you're the one who's going to take care of them. And I've always been so grateful that they gave me that opportunity to not feel like I had to do that for them.
Do you feel like a lot of your kind of, I would say, you seem independent to me, but would you say a lot of your independence comes from your parents, or where did you pick that up from?
I think it's part of my true nature. I think I've just
Mm.
always been like this. I can't remember a time when I wasn't. Like I've joked with people before that I think one of the first things I was able to say as a kid was, I can do it.
Oh, cool.
I've got it. Like tying my shoes, I've got it. Getting the glass down to get my own water, I've got it. I can do it. Like that was just something my parents have said. I was always very strong-willed. I was always very independent. It's something that my teachers always said about me. Like in the fifth grade, I was like, I'm going to be the first female president of the United States. And I would like make my dad quiz me on like the states and the capitals and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Like I was going to be, I didn't know anything about politics. Once I learned about politics, I was like, yeah, that's not for me. But I think that's just my true nature. It's just who I think it's who I've always been.
That's cool. Um, so let's talk about like the looks thing. So you were talking about how you were constantly like feeling like your worth is in your looks. Like what kind of impact did that have on you?
I think that's something that unconsciously shaped my personality for a long time.
Hmm.
As an Enneagram 3, my image is very important to me. And it's not so much
Hmm.
like the physical
Hmm.
looks, though
Hmm.
that is has
It's
has
like
been
how you're
important.
perceived by
How I'm
others.
perceived by others. Yes.
Yeah.
What image do I present? Do I present an image of knowing what I'm talking about, being
Hmm.
successful, someone who can, that you would, you would want to work with me, or you'd want to hire me, or you'd want to trust me? Like, that image was always very important to me. I didn't consciously know that until I started doing the Enneagram work about 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And what I discovered is that I had become so entangled with the image that I was presenting that I didn't always know who I was underneath the image. And that's
Interesting.
still something I continue to explore and meditate on and untangle, because I think we all present to the world. I mean, it's part of human nature. We don't always show up, 100% authentically, because not everyone in the world has the right to us 100%, right? I don't share my deepest vulnerabilities with the entire world, because there's very few people who've earned the right to hear my deepest vulnerabilities and to help me work through those. So, um, yeah, I think for threes in particular, though, untangling the image from who we really are is it's a lifelong process.
I would like to dive deeper into this, like untangling the image. I think it's extremely relevant to the topic, which is aligning your business with your life.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
if you want to create your authentic expression of your business, I think it's important. I would say it's important to understand who you really are versus what is entangled in the image. What are like some of the what could like the women in this group do to really, or what helped you maybe when you went through this process of really untangling the image? What worked for you? Like, what was that journey like?
A lot of it is a lot of it is getting honest with myself about what I really want and not what I think the world wants.
Hmm.
So, especially with entrepreneurship, and I see this more and more with women's entrepreneurship, there's a assumption, or a maybe it's an assumption that you're supposed to want your business to be a certain way, whether that's generally based on revenue, right? So,
Hmm. Okay.
um, like when I started my network marketing business,
Hmm.
there's 4 levels. And I, of course, was like, I'm getting to the top. I'm going to get to that top level. I don't
Hmm.
start something unless I really want to, achieve it. And then the more and more I was in it, the more and more I was not enjoying all the aspects of it. There were parts of it I really liked, like training my team on mindset. And there was a lot of it I didn't like. And so as I was scaling or growing in the company and promoting, I had to get really, really honest about where I was going to put my energy and attention. And it was a very, um, it took me quite a while, and it was a challenging process of untangling others' expectations and the
Hmm.
image of success that I was creating in that business with what I really wanted to do, what my heart was calling me to do. And my heart was calling me to be a mindset coach, to be a spiritual
Interesting.
teacher, to work with women on a deeper internal level. But I knew that letting go of the network marketing business meant I was letting go of a title. I was letting go of some amount of prestige. I was probably going to disappoint both people who were above me and working on my team. There was a lot of expectation that people had of me and where I was going next in that company. And it was a lot of soul searching for me to get to the point where I was able to say, what I want for my life is more important than what anyone else wants. And that is not always an easy place to get to,
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
for
that's
women.
huge. That is really huge.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone through something very similar, and the only way I could find it was tapping into my heart. Because if you try to tap into your brain, it's not gonna work. But I think it's really important for everybody in the group of like how do you like untangle others' expectations? When you're in that situation where it's like, oh man, like all these people want this from me, but my heart's going in a different direction. Let's break that down. I think it's super, super valuable to talk about is like how do you um, go from you're like stuck in this like system or you're stuck in this situation and you feel the pull of expectation society and then yet within your own knowing, your own heart, you're like this is not the right direction. How
Yeah.
do you deal with that?
I think part of it is getting still and quiet and listening to your heart.
Yeah, I do too.
Um,
But let's say, like, okay, let's say there's someone in this group that is going through this exact situation right now and they
yeah.
cannot get still. Like they're maybe they don't have that level of clarity yet where it's like, oh, is that really what I want? Is this really me? Or is this like so how can they get that clarity, you
Well,
know?
I mean, I definitely think that, you know, having a coach that can help you get that clarity is really helpful. I mean, I always say you can't read the label from inside the bottle,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Oftentimes, trying, like you said, you can't figure it out with your head. If there's a something that you're working through, something you're wanting more clarity on, you might not be the only person who can help you get that clarity. And having
Good
said
point.
that, you have to be aware of who you're asking to help you gain clarity. If there are people whose uh, money, whose lives, whose schedules are influenced by your choices, they may unconsciously want to influence you in a certain direction. For example, say you're a school teacher, like my sister used to be. She had taught school for many, many years. She really liked what she did. And then she had started having kids. And she was like, I don't love this job enough to be away from my kids this much. I want something different. Like it was pulling on her heart to create something that she could be home with her kids. But that decision was really challenging, right? Like she was the steady income in their family. Her husband worked as well, but he worked in he worked in construction. So it was like he had his own business. So there was like, some months were really busy, some months were. Her paycheck was steady every 2 weeks, right? She had the health insurance for the whole family. Like there were people who depended on her to stay where she was and keep doing what she was doing, right? And friends around her, colleagues, when you start to shift and change who you are and do things differently, it holds a mirror to others and they're not always ready to see it.
Hmm.
Right. So when
Hmm.
she started um, kind of pulling away a little bit, other people didn't really like that. But eventually, she got to the place where she couldn't not listen to her heart. She had to take the action to
Hmm.
venture out and start to build something for herself. Right. And so I think she did that mainly through counsel with me. And, I was trying to help coach her through it, but also by talking to a business coach and talking to an Enneagram based therapist and like really working out like what do I want? I think it's a question that women
Yeah.
seldom ask themselves or truly give themselves permission to answer. What is it that I want?
I
Right?
like
Because
that.
often when women choose what they want, it means other people get uncomfortable. And
Hmm.
we have been taught as women from a very young age to manage other people's feelings.
Interesting. Let's talk about that, like managing other people's feelings. Um, what are the top kind of expectations that you feel women are expected to manage feelings of?
Oh, first and foremost, their family. I mean, women are taught to um, I mean, this is a lot of it's very unconscious, right? It's not like someone says to a young girl, you have to take care of my feelings, but it's little things that happen over and over again that women learn how to override what it is that they want in order to manage other people's feelings, to keep peace and harmony, to keep things moving along. So now they're, managing the feelings of their spouse, they're managing the feelings of their kids, they're managing the feelings of the other moms in the neighborhood, or maybe their kids' teachers. They might be managing the feelings of their parents. It's a lot of balls to juggle for most women when they're trying to keep everybody else happy and harmonious and satisfied. And in an effort to do that, there's a lot of disconnection with themselves and what they want and their own feelings. And it's something we see a lot inside our program as women come in, and we ask them, what do you want? What is it that you want? What would this mean for you? How would you feel if this was your experience? And it's just like light bulbs keep going off, and then we give them the tools to help create those boundaries and allow other people to manage their own feelings.
I'm really curious to know, what is the effect of constantly having to manage other people's feelings on you as that manager of the feelings?
It's exhausting.
Exhausting.
It's exhausting. You don't have anything left for yourself.
And have when was a particular time like in your life that you felt you were like just exhausted from managing all these feelings?
I think it was when I was transitioning out of my network marketing business and into this coaching business. There were a lot of people who were dependent on me staying where I was. My
Hmm.
husband was dependent on me continuing that work and bringing in our income. The people above me were dependent on me bringing in the volume so they could get paid on it. The people who were in my success line were dependent on me continuing to coach and lead and teach them how to build a business. I mean, there were a lot of people who were dependent on me staying where I was. And I felt like I had to meet those expectations, and I didn't want to upset anyone. I didn't want
Hmm.
people to not like me. I didn't want people um, to not want to be my friend. Like there was just a lot of, and I felt like, well, if I just stay where I am, then no one will get mad at me. No one
Hmm.
will be disappointed by me. No one will um, think less of me. So I'm just going to stay in this business and keep doing what I'm doing, even though I had I had fallen out of love with it. you know, at least a year, at least 2 years, I was kind of going through the motions without really. Um, I loved it at one point, right? But then my interest changed, my goals changed, my focus changed, and I wanted to do something different. But I stuck with where I was for a while because so many people I felt, dependent on me staying there. And that if I upset the apple cart, there were going to be a lot of people who were going to either be upset with me, not like me, feel like I disappointed them. So yeah, that was
What
was
was like
hard.
the biggest fear if somebody was, upset with you? What was like running through your mind in that time of like, oh man, I'm really afraid of blank guy or blank boss or something like that? What was the big fear?
The fear for me is always not belonging, not being a
Hmm.
part of, not being accepted, not being loved. And that's something I've really understood much more deeply in my work with the Enneagram. It's definitely a driver for twos, threes, and fours to feel loved and accepted. I mean, something everybody wants, but that's like a prime driver for twos, threes, and fours. Like for five, sixes, and sevens, it's feeling safe. And for eights, nines, and ones, it's feeling worthy. Like we have different things that drive us to behave in different ways. So someone else might want to manage other people's feelings and expectations because it feels safe to do that. For me, it wasn't about safety. It was about still feeling like I belonged, like I was a
Belonging.
part of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like, it kind of makes sense. Like that's hardwired
Yeah.
into our like brains because like we're social. That's how we have evolved over many years, many
Yeah. You don't want to be the
millions
one
of years.
outside the cave.
You don't want to be the one outside the cave, yeah. And
Yeah.
if you leave, if you like, essentially, it's like if you leave, you're putting whatever system you're leaving in at risk. It could break down because you're like the fulcrum.
Yeah.
So the fear is like, oh man, like all these people won't like me. So what pushed you over the edge? What was that thing that you were like, okay, I'm doing this?
Um, hmm. Well, it was, I mean, it was a couple of things, right? COVID was a big part of it. There were a lot of changes to the actual business and the way that we were able to run it. There were changes within that company. There was like a series of things that were kind of leading to the decision, but I don't know that if it was like one particular moment, but I think it was just um, making the decision that what I wanted for my life needed to be the most important thing. Um,
I love that.
yeah,
Um, I love that. Making the decision that what I wanted for my life is the most important thing. And I think this is a good spot to transition to now. How could someone watching this like start to make that decision that what I need in my life is the most important thing, not what all these other people are asking from me.
yeah,
So what's the number one thing, that someone in this position should be considering when they're like, okay, well, first the better question is like what needs to happen
yeah. I think the
for
first thing
yeah,
that needs to happen is for them to start admitting it to themselves,
okay,
you
cool.
know, really like asking yourself the question, what do I want? And you can ask yourself that question. You can write it in a journal, like write that as the top line. What do I want? And just allow yourself to freely write from there. You
Yeah.
can go for a walk and without headphones, without the podcast playing, and just ask yourself, what do I want? Allow yourself to daydream. Ask yourself when you're standing in the shower, when there's no other distractions around. And just know that it's private. It's just for you. This is not, you don't have to tell anyone yet. I think sometimes people um, start to feel the fear of sharing what they want before they're even 100% clear about it. And it stops them from really exploring it and dreaming it and visioning it. Because they're like, oh, your mind gets in the way. You think, well, but I can't do that because of this or that person or whatever. Put all that aside and give yourself that space and that time just for you to say what it is that you want. There's a meditation that we use inside the program called Your Higher Self. And it's a meditation that you basically are asking your higher self the questions, right? What is it that I want? And you allow those answers to come, can be very, very illuminating because it's in there somewhere. It is in your heart, it's in your intuition, it is somewhere in your soul, what it is that you really want for your life. It's just that, societal conditioning, fear, past experiences, your beliefs, all that shit's just getting in the way, but it's down in there. You just have to take that time to ask yourself what it is and allow it to come up without judgment, without thinking you have to figure out how to do it, without worrying about how you're going to tell people. Just the first step is just to allow it for yourself.
Hey, can we give this meditation? I wonder if we can do like a kind of a bonus or a freebie or something. Maybe if they comment on this
Oh, yeah, I'll
on this
send it to them.
live. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do that. Everybody drop your or drop Christina a message and put your email in it. And then if you drop it within the next whatever 2 days, then we'll send you this meditation.
perfect. Yep,
How's that
I'll
sound?
send you the
Cool.
meditation. Yep,
Awesome. Cool. Exciting to get everybody that meditation and make sure you thank Christine for that because it's a awesome meditation. Okay, so admitting it to yourself and then creating that space, it sounds like, where you can just like kind of feel it out and like kind of not tell anybody, and kind of just feel that thing. But I feel like a thing that might happen, danger, is like you might just get stuck in that
Yeah.
and an analysis paralysis, kind of just like, oh, I think I want this, but you just stay stuck in your current situation.
Yeah.
What do you do so you don't get stuck in that mode?
I think the next thing to do is figure out who can help you start
Hmm.
to bring this vision to life.
Hmm.
One mistake I see a lot of women making, and I saw this a ton when I was in network marketing, is that someone would get excited about starting their business. And this happens out, in any entrepreneurial endeavor, I think. Someone's excited about an idea, they want to start a business, they want, and they ask their spouse what they think about it, or they ask
Hmm.
their mom, or they ask their sister. They ask someone who is not already a business owner. They
Hmm.
ask someone who doesn't have the experience or the credentials. Now, maybe if you have a parent who's an entrepreneur, they would be a good person to talk to. But
Yeah.
oftentimes, women have a vision, they have an idea, they get excited about something, and then they take it to someone who doesn't have the experience to help them start to take those steps. And
Hmm.
oftentimes, that person's own fears, it's, oh, entrepreneurship is, it's too risky, or you've never done anything like this, or, what are you going to do? Just quit your job. Like, their fears will start to make you doubt your own vision.
Hmm. So
So,
finding the right support group, finding
yes.
the right people that you feel, like you can get unbiased answers, or pretty like, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
getting those unbiased answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, talking to somebody who has done what you're going to do,
Yeah.
right? Like, I wouldn't go to um,
It's
I
like kind
wouldn't
of
go
like
to a
finding
running
the,
coach to learn
yeah.
how to run better from someone who's like, "Nah, I don't really run. I've never run before." Like, I wouldn't go to that kind of person to ask them how to start training for a marathon,
Or you wouldn't
right?
go to the batting coach to be a great sprinter. It's
Exactly.
like even if that person's good at one thing, doesn't mean they would be good at this other thing. I think that's a big thing. Even when I was starting my business, you're like, oh, I should talk to my parents about this, because that's just the default kind of state,
Hmm.
or your spouse, or your whatever, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, and you're just like, it's a default behavior, I think,
Yeah.
but we don't realize like sometimes that person might have their own insecurities that are gonna
Mhm.
severely bias the kind of answers they give you.
Yeah.
So I love that. Like really thinking about and analyzing who you should ask before you go and ask them. Like, are they in that trajectory of where you're trying to go? I think
Yeah.
that's important. So once you have made this list of people, once you've kind of defined, okay, these are people that have credentials and I trust, and I feel like they're going to give me a straightforward, unbiased answer, what's the next step? Like, what do you think someone in this position of like really trying to figure out what they want in their life should do?
Well, I think the next step is start to ask those questions, start doing the research. What is it that you want, and how do you want this to fit into your life? I think
Hmm.
we have to
Yeah.
be really clear about that as well. Otherwise, you're going to get sucked into a thousand shiny objects, right? There's so much out there, that anyone who's starting a business, whether it's brick and mortar or online, can get pulled in a million different directions. And without the clarity about what it is, again, what you want, not what someone else is saying your business goals should be, because plenty of people will tell you what they think your business should be. What do
Hmm.
you want it to be? How much do you want to work? How much money do you need to make? Like, what is the actual income and revenue that you need to generate in order for taking this leap to make sense for you and your lifestyle and your family? Um, because if you can only work 20 to 25 hours a week because you're a mom, or you have a part-time job or a full-time job or whatever, or all of those things, you've got to be very clear about where you're going to go to get what kind of research you need to do, where you're going to go to get those kind of resources. So you're not um, working with someone or hiring someone who doesn't understand your lifestyle, right? Someone who's going
Yeah.
to give you a program or something that's going to take you 40, 50, 60 hours a week to implement, that's not going to work for what you want. So you've got to be really clear all along the path, creating clarity consistently with your business. When you start it, when you begin to grow it, when you start to hire people, all the way through, you have to keep coming back to what is it that I want? What do I want this business to look like? How much do I want to make? How much do I want to work? And keep using that as your North Star as you do the research.
Yeah. I think it's also important to note to be kind of pragmatic about the realistic, expectations. There's a lot of hype men that will go and say like, "Oh, you can do this. You can make 20K in like 2 hours or something," right? So, um sussing out and really looking at is this with my skills and my capabilities and where I'm at in life and my responsibilities, etc., etc., how long will this take me, and is this something that's actually doable? Yes, we would all love a business that's getting 100,000 a month doing like no work,
Right.
but really, what is the requirements to make that happen? How much time do I have to spend up front building that system to get to that point, right? So that is super, super critical, and I think that's something we don't talk about enough in the coaching industry. It's like, what's the setup to make the life you want happen? It's not
Yeah.
enough to just say I want this, but now what's the steps I need to do? So it's kind of like getting real with yourself about what's going to be required of you, and
Mm-hmm.
not just saying like, hey, I want these things, but okay, I want these things. What am I gonna have to do to get these things, and how long? If I only want to spend 4 hours a week, that's great, but it might take me longer to
Yeah.
get that outcome then. So I think that's also important.
Yeah.
Really
Set
thinking
yourself
about
up for success.
yeah,
You
set
know,
yourself up for success.
if the expectations that you have don't align with the time and energy and money that you can put into your business, then you're going to end up disappointing yourself right from the start.
Yep.
So why not set yourself up for success, right? Know what it is that you want, how much time you want to spend on it, what kind of revenue you need to bring in, what kind of organization or structure you want. Some women not just, some women want to be a solo entrepreneur. Maybe they have a
Mm.
VA who helps them with like back end stuff. Some women want to be the CEO of a multi six figure, seven figure company. Both are great. Both are valuable. Both are valid. Know which one you want. Not everyone wants one or the other. But when you know what you want, you can hire the coach, join the mastermind, buy the course, do the things that align with that ultimate outcome for you.
I love that. So setting yourself up for success. And then how do they go and like just? I feel like what's the next step? Like, do you just go and make it happen? Like, that's what I would do personally, but I want to know what.
That's what I would do too, but
Yeah.
that's our personality. And that's why I think it's really important to align yourself with someone who's done what you're wanting to do, because you may as well learn from their mistakes, right? Gain the
Mm,
wisdom of their experience instead of going through everything yourself, right? I think trying to figure it all out yourself costs a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of energy. Like I'm someone who has invested tens of thousands of dollars into courses and coaches over the years in order to build my business. Now, I will say, I am someone who has had to learn the hard way to vet people a little bit more and make sure that what they're going to teach me or show me aligns with what I want to create. Because I have aligned myself, or I've learned from and worked with coaches and course creators who absolutely saw where I was, knew where I wanted to go, gave me the resources to help me get there. And I've also, gotten caught up in a bit of, um,
we won't mention their names, but
we won't mention their names, but in like big promises, right? Like it can be
Mhm.
very tempting to hear like big promises being made and be like, well, that's what I want, without really considering if that program or that person aligns with the values that I have, with the lifestyle that I want to live, with what's important to me. So, you know, for me, I've learned over the years that I can't do it all myself. Even though
Mhm.
that was my motto as a kid, I can do it. I can't do
Yeah.
it all myself.
And I think
And
one thing that you said is really important for everybody listening is to the alignment piece,
yeah.
to really like vet out whoever you're considering to work with and really do your due diligence, like ask them a bunch of questions. Do
Hmm.
not feel embarrassed to ask for like case studies, ask for references,
Yep.
ask for, whatever you need to make that decision. And then when you make it, you're like 100% in.
Yeah.
Um, all for it. Like ask all the questions up front so
Yeah.
that you're like 100% sure, like
Yes.
this person.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's an investment of your time and your money and your energy. And you want to make sure that you're making wise investments. Again, it all comes back to your clarity.
Yeah,
When you've created clarity about what it is that you want, seeing if someone lines up with that gets a whole lot easier.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I don't see enough coaches talking about is how do you invest in a program? Like, what's the process to make that? And I would like to say, like, if you're new to coaching, do not be afraid to ask a lot of questions and be afraid to say, I need time to think about it,
Yeah.
or, all this, whatever you need to do to feel like once you get the clarity, then you have to go in. But
Yes.
until you get the clarity, do what you need to get the clarity, right? I think that's so important to know is like do not get pressured into getting into something. Don't fall to like a sales tactic, you know. Get the clarity and when you have the clarity, then you have to go all in.
Yes. And I think that's probably the most, not, I think to wrap this up, that action step is so vital. It's essential, right? And that's the scary, sometimes the two scariest things are admitting what you really want
Yeah,
and then taking action to get
taking action. Yeah, it's
it.
definitely gonna feel scary to invest in like a big program, or make an investment bigger than maybe multiple months of your pay.
Yeah.
But that's also the reality. It's like yes, you should take your time and do your due diligence, but once you've made the decision and hey, this program is it, you got to make that kind of leap and
Yes.
that kind of jump, and it can be scary, but that's also what you have to do. So you have to do the due diligence, but
Hmm.
you also have to make that jump. So you can't get, stuck.
Yes. And I think that really comes down to trusting yourself,
Yeah.
right? Trust yourself that when you are tuned into what you want and you have done the research to see if it aligns with you, trust yourself that it's going to be the right decision for you. It's not always about trusting the outside world,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah, the
about
coach could be
trusting,
like the best in the world, but the coach cannot create the clarity for you. You can have a
right?
100 million clarity calls, but until you get your own clarity and make your own jump, nobody can do it for you. So,
Right. And you have to trust yourself that you're going to you're going to get information, you're going to gain wisdom, you're going to gain experience, that everything that you're taking action on is adding to your knowledge and your experience. And that's it's really how you build a business, right? No one builds a business by knowing everything before they get started.
yeah, that's
It's just
true.
not possible, right? Even if you went to school for entrepreneurship, which wasn't a major when I was in school, like you couldn't, I wanted to be an entrepreneur my whole life. I went to school and they taught business, but it was like corporate business. It wasn't
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. So
Yeah.
even if you go to school to learn entrepreneurship, which not many people have done yet, getting out into the world to build your own business it's a learning experience, right? And you have to be willing to learn, and not just learn to gain information, but learn from your mistakes, like learn and apply. And that is like that's the whole process of building a business, you know? And as you as you're learning and applying, you continue to create more clarity, right? Like,
Yep.
oh, I did this, didn't work, good to know. Oh, I
It's
did
like a
this, it
game.
worked, more clarity. Yeah, it
It's
really
a
is.
game. Yeah.
It really is. And you
Yeah.
kind of have to have that attitude about it too. Otherwise, um, you won't learn from the things that don't work out. You start taking it too personally, and that'll take you out of the game, right? You're just know that there's a lot of stuff you're going to do that will work, and there's a lot of stuff you're going to do that won't work. It's all part of the process. And as long as you're learning from both the things that work and the things that don't work, you're continuing to create more clarity for yourself and where you want to go. And that's what's going to get you there.
That's awesome. I think that's a great spot to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Um, I guess it's all women in this group. So, ladies, if you want that meditation Christina is graciously providing, um, I guess drop a comment in this live or send Christina or her team a DM with your email, and then we'll get that meditation sent to you so you can
Yeah.
get some clarity.
Awesome.
Awesome. Cool. See everybody.
Thank
Talk to you
you.
soon.